In this video, I'm going to show you Vallejo's fluorescent paint and help you decide what kind of fluorescent paint you should buy. First of all, let's talk about what exactly it means for a paint to be fluorescent. It means that it will glow when exposed to certain wavelengths of light. The most common way to do this is ultraviolet light or UV light. Blacklights put out a type of UV light and are the easiest way to get this light to glow. Blacklight glowing materials are similar to the type of material that Vallejo uses in their fluorescent paint line. Vallejo's paint is specifically designed for these models. This means that if you're doing something like tabletop wargaming like Warhammer 40k, generally into modeling, or just painting anything that needs that level of precision and small pigment size, this paint is designed for you. Green Stuff World has a similar line of paint as well. I haven't personally used it, but from several reviews it seems to be very comparable. Miniature specific paint is quite a bit more expensive than standard neon or blacklight paint like what you'd find at stores like Walmart. That's because the pigment size needs to be smaller and the paint needs to be thinner to apply properly to models. So this higher quality just leads to higher pricing. The Vallejo paint comes in a 17ml bottle for about $3 to $4 and is a little harder to find locally, so you may have to pay shipping to get it. While cheaper paint like FolkArt is a 59ml bottle for about $2 and can be pretty easily found locally. Here's some neon paint from Walmart. The color is good for that brighter effect, but as you can see, it's pretty thick. This brand is the FolkArt Neon Blacklight Acrylic paint. I tried this originally on one model and you just couldn't get it thin enough to work on something like any Games Workshop model. I tried to thin it down with water and I just couldn't get it to work like normal model paint would. This is the Magenta Fluorescent Acrylic paint. You can see that although it's a bit thicker than normal model paint, it's not too far off. You can thin it down a bit, and you can expect details to show through on your model. This last one is Army Painter's Scar Tissue Color. It doesn't have any special effects, I just wanted to put a comparison of a normal paint up here. One thing to note here, if you see a paint like this and it says neon and are thinking about trying it instead of fluorescent paint, it might not work. Neon just means it's a very bright paint that's supposed to have that almost glowing effect during the daytime. So in normal daylight, it will look similar to fluorescent paint, but it might not be reactive to UV light and won't give you the same effect when exposed to it. Some have the neon effect and glow under black light. You just want to make sure it reacts with black light or UV if you want to use some kind of lighting effect with it. Another tip is the hobby paint works best when thinned down and has the best coverage when applied over a white base coat. So if you can prime it a light color, preferably white, that would be best. It may also require several coats to get it to look right. To actually see what the paint does under UV light, here was the color palette I was using earlier to show the thickness of the paint. The top two paints are the cheaper FolkArt paint, and the third is Vallejo's fluorescent paint, and the final one is that normal Army Painter pink. The cheaper paint has about the same amount of glow as the more expensive Vallejo paint. So if you want to buy and paint with something that has a blacklight paint to it, what should you get? If it's a miniature or a small hobby project, where you are painting over texture and want the detail to show through, you'll be better served with the Vallejo paint or a company that makes miniature specific fluorescent paint at a higher price range. I'm normally pretty cheap, so if the cheaper paint works well, I'd be recommending it. If you're doing either large terrain pieces like background scenery, or something without a large level of detail, or if you are doing something that's a non-wargaming hobby, the glow effect is just as strong out of the cheaper paint. For me, I originally bought the paint to use for Tyranids to give their weapons a glow effect or small bits in between their armor, so I needed that high level of detail. For projects like that, I would highly recommend something like the Vallejo paint. Hopefully this helps you figure out what to buy. If you have any questions, feel free to ask down in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe if you want more wargaming or hobby content like this. Thank you for watching.